In all my years of telling stories, I've found that the ones most worth sharing are about meaningful change. This magazine is filled with such stories, but the one I'm about to tell you is essential. As I reflect on my life, I'm reminded that you often don't know the real value of something until you have something else to compare it to.
I grew up in north central Minnesota during the 60s and 70s. People in my neighborhoods didn't have electricity, and everybody had horses, and so as kids, that's how we got around. And I had the great opportunity to meet people that knew that landscape, because these were old loggers. They had these great names: Pete McCune, Benny Iverson, Dirty Joe, Crazy Joe. And these were all these characters. We'd go to Pete McCune's house and he would give us a cup of coffee as kids, but he would tell us what it was like when he arrived there, like in the early 1900s. You know, these guys are in their 80s at this time, but they're still living out in a tar paper shack. They would say, hey, you know, when I arrived here, there was an ocean of white pine. And we said to ourselves, we're never gonna cut all these trees. It took us less than 10 years. And I grew up in an environment where everything evolved around the seasons. Just gave me a deep love of the natural world. And I just wanted to be for future generations. I probably spent 4 months just trying to learn the organization. What's it about? Where are we going? It's not about us. We want a healthy landscape 100 years from now. So the first thing I did was start a long-range strategic plan.
Before Ty was here, we accumulated thousands of brand new acres of forest preserve land. We didn't have the resources to restore those places, but we thought we have the opportunity in the future. And when Ty arrived, he emphasized we're the stewards of that land. We have to return it to its health through restoration.
I want to see all of that functioning the way it's supposed to. And that we've come up with a way to make sure that's sustainable forever.
Restoring the hydrology is really one of the first steps you take in restoring the plant and animal community. We have drained and dewatered so much of our landscape. So what is happening now is when it rains, it floods, but then it quickly dissipates. What used to happen is it would rain and slowly percolate into the soil. That groundwater would flow into creeks and wetlands, so there'd be a permanent source.
Hydrology is really complex. A lot of the land that we put into our preserves have been altered, and the process of doing that has involved soil that has been in water for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And the way to deal with that is to put in drain pipe, literally, in the farm fields and take the water off the farm field so that the corn, the soybeans, or whatever else you're growing can not have too much water. And it's been brilliantly successful. But to take that and put it back into a natural system requires that we get rid of all that drain tile. That's actually a really complicated process. So we have to understand and then model where the water is going to go once we get rid of those drain pipes. We also have a huge responsibility to ensure that it's not moving into a neighboring property in a way that's going to be damaging. You have to try and figure out where all those drain tiles actually are, and then you can put that into a hydrological model to try and figure out, well, if we took the water off of here, where would it go? But maybe we want to change the topography, and that generally involves a lot of permitting, and then you need a lot of big equipment and a lot of people to actually implement that. You have to figure out what plants you're going to put where, making sure that it's going to survive through the first growing season.
I want future generations to have the same experience that people in my generation had, because there was a lot more there. We need to make sure that we do everything that we can. The challenge is time to get it all done, and to overcome that, try to get rid of the distractors, stay focused on the mission, don't stifle that creativity, because that's where the ideas are going to come from. That's where the good work is going to come from, that's where the enthusiasm is going to come from, and that's where the cultural change is going to come from.
Nobody can predict what will happen in the next 100 years. The vision isn't really about the end result, it's about the process of getting to where we want Lake County to be.
Continue to scan the horizon. Don't stop. Don't say, mission accomplished. It's never going to be accomplished because things will change and we're going to have new problems.
Climate change is the greatest threat that is facing humanity perhaps ever. That makes trying to maintain and restore our natural areas a big challenge. How do we make sure that the plants that we are putting on the ground are the right ones? How do we make sure that the hydrological patterns that we're seeing now are going to be the same ones that we're going to have to deal with in 100 years? How do we make our restoration plans and our maintenance plans be resilient enough that they can withstand those changes?
The biggest thing that needs to happen is that we endow all that land, because we can get tax dollars to do the operational side of it. We can get capital dollars to do the actual restoration. What we lack is a way to permanently fund and take care of that.
When we reach our fundraising goal for our endowment campaign, we know that we're going to have a permanent, perpetual source of funding for a really important part of what makes the Forest Preserve special for Lake County. In the face of changing climatic conditions, in the face of the next new exotic pest, or in the face of some new invasive plant species that my future colleagues down the road will have to fight. That's what's on the line with meeting our fundraising goal.
The most important thing we can do is to be involved, to recognize that we are as much part of that ecosystem as that oak tree is. Without our help, without our presence, without our intervention, these places will disappear.
And we've come up with a model here through our Preservation Foundation that allows people to do that. I would really encourage people to reach out to the district, reach out to me personally to understand how they can get involved. I've never worked in an organization that functions as well as this one does. Just like playing tennis, in that you tend to play better if you play with somebody that is a better tennis player than you. And that's what this organization has done for me. The staff here,
They don't know how good they are because they have nothing else to compare it to. Thank you for allowing me to share this story with you. I cherish my time in the forest preserves and am so grateful to their staff and for this free magazine. I hope you subscribe. And if you see me out on the trails, let me know what article you recommend. But most importantly, participate. Donate your time or money, and stay engaged. Our future depends on us. I'm Bill Kurtis. Until next time.